Hello everyone, it's Elena and today I'll be sharing with you guys my IB experience and some advice that I have for current IB students. If you guys want to know what subjects I did and how I did in a specific subject, I'm going to link my IB reaction video up here, so you guys can just click on that and then you will see what I got in every subject. But for now, I can just tell you guys I got 43 points in total, and I'm just going to share with you guys my reflections on the IB. My first point is that in my opinion the IB is a lot less about your study skills and a lot more about your time management skills, because at the end of the day the things that you get to study for the IB, they're actually not that hard. Like when you just look at it, you know, like in terms of understanding, it's actually not like that much of an expectation. But what is really hard is that you have content of 2 years that you gotta put down on a paper in like 3 hours in that final exam. And that means you need really good time management skills throughout your 2 years in order to have your notes ready when you're walking into your study leave, so that you're just revising during your study leave. And that requires a continuous commitment to studying. And I know it's really easy to just be like, oh well, that exam's not going to count anything because it's just my final, so I don't need to make study notes. No, you do need to make study notes, because if you don't, you're just going to be there in your study leave making all your notes but not revising them, and then they're not going to be very helpful to you because you didn't have time to look over them. So that's really my main tip. Time management, and that's really important. And in order to be good at time management, you need to know all your assessments, you need to know what papers to prepare for, you need to know if there's an additional exam to the written exam, you need to know when you need to hand in specific essays, etc. And it's really important that you keep track of all these things so that you can actually be good at, you know, managing your time. If you guys want a video about time management, let me know. I feel like I can't like put all of this into this video, because then this video is going to turn into like a half-an-hour video. But yeah, let me know if you guys would be interested in that. I'd be happy to make it. But that's really my main advice, and that's what I think really the IB teaches you, time management, which is really helpful because when you go to university you need it. So it's a life skill that is actually useful. Now my next thing is more of an advice, and that's prioritize the really important things. In the IB there's a lot of things that you need to do, but not all of them are equally important. One of the things that I like to mention here are CAS reflections. You don't need to spend half an hour reflecting on your CAS experiences, okay? Writing a CAS reflection should not take you longer than 10 minutes. And 10 minutes is quite a lot for writing a CAS reflection. Because to be honest, the things that you choose for CAS, they should actually be pretty easy to reflect on. And I mean, if you're using a platform like ManageBack, as my school did, they already tell you like what are the learning outcomes. Just pick a learning outcome and be like, okay, so how can I connect my activity to this learning outcome? And it's usually pretty easy. And you know, those reflections, they don't need to be 1,000 word essays. It can be a paragraph, as long as that paragraph is meaningful. So for example, I did Model United Nations, and you can talk a lot about teamwork, you can talk about global issues that are at hand because you discuss them. It just links to so many of the learning outcomes. So, you know, just be very clear. This is what I did in the activity. Here's how it links to this particular learning outcome, and this is what I learned from it, and that's it. Okay? That's all you need for a CAS reflection. Writing CAS reflections should be a maximum of a 10-minute task. And another important point is, don't write your CAS reflections on the day they're due, okay? Write them continuously. Like, put it in your calendar. Like every 2 weeks, I'm gonna write one reflection for each of my activities. And then you're done with it. And you know, it shouldn't take you a long time because those reflections are super easy to write. And the thing is, if you write them continuously, you're still remembering what you did in the last session. And you know, because if you do it at the end of the year, it's like you remember the last session but you don't remember all of them before. So it's really hard to come up with like different things to write in your reflection, which makes them less creative, and your teacher is just going to be like, well, did she actually reflect? And I know they don't count anything, but you know, you still want them to at least sound good, because many teachers also do take them into consideration when writing university recommendations. So yeah, you do want them to sound like you actually put some thought into them. Alright, my next tip is again about time management, and this is about your extended essay and your IAs. So my tip for that is, write them over the summer. Seriously. Like, I know everybody goes out of school after their first year and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do all of these things over the summer. They come back, nothing got done. But don't be this person, okay? Be that person that comes back and has their first draft for the EE and all their IAs ready. That's the person you want to be after the summer break, believe me. Everybody's gonna be like, well, like, did you even have a summer? And maybe you didn't, maybe you just worked on all these things, but believe me, you're not gonna regret it, because second year gets really busy really quickly, because even if you do all your first drafts of these IAs and your EE, you still have to do a final draft. you know, so you're just gonna get it back and then you have to like edit it. But you don't want to be working on your first drafts, your university applications, and then your final drafts. No, you don't. And your exam prep for your final exams, because those are all coming at you in second year. And you know, you think you can easily manage that, but really you can't. So just write them over the summer. It's absolutely time well spent. I wrote my EE and all my IAs except for biology over the summer, because I couldn't write bio over the summer because I had to do a lab and I was only allowed to do it in school. So what I did is I wrote as much of it as I could, and I did the lab in school and then I handed it in. And to be honest, that was the best choice I could make, because I think my EE wouldn't have turned out even like a quarter as good as it was had I done it while I was at school, because I wouldn't have had the time. And I probably put more than 40 hours into my EE, but to be honest, I enjoyed it. It was worth it to me, and I think it paid off. Now, unless you're doing a bilingual certificate, you are probably studying a second language. And my advice for all students who are doing any language which isn't their mother tongue is to watch movies, read books, and listen to music in that language, because it makes it so much easier to learn it. Like, just, you know, constantly expose yourself to it. And most importantly, expose yourself to it during the summer break, because otherwise you come back and you just forgot it all. Because languages, they're not something that you can like study in a few hours. You know, like for math, you can revise a few times, do a few practice problems, and you're good to go. It doesn't work like that for languages. Languages are about continuous practice, and you just, you know, need to expose yourself to it to like keep your brain in the mood for speaking that language. Like, I know that helped me a lot with French. I just watched a lot of French TV shows, and that just helped me, you know, stay like in the mood for French and keep my grammar sort of in my head. Like, I didn't do any like revision exercises or anything. Like, I just don't really enjoy them. But for me, I learn when I talk to people or when I listen to people speaking French, because it just reminds me of, okay, this is the grammar structure you need to use. So I would highly recommend doing that, especially over the summer break, to ensure that you're not losing your language. Now, I already mentioned that time management is important when it comes to study notes, and I just want to make another point about study notes, and that is you really gotta keep them all in like one place. You know where they are, and they gotta be in order, because if you have study notes which are just super messy and they're all over the place, you don't know where to start studying, and it's just gonna demotivate you, and you're probably gonna lose an hour just by searching for the right study notes to study from. If you guys want to know how I organize my study notes, I'm gonna link a video up there. You can just click on it. It's my study method that I used for the IB. I found that method really helpful, but I think everybody's got to find a system that works for them. So I would recommend trying out a few systems of, you know, filing things and stuff, just to find out what works best for you, and know whether flashcards work for you, or whether you just want to write things down on paper, or whether maybe you learn best by, I don't know, drawing it out or whatever. But make sure that you know what works best for your brain, and then use it in order to remember it. And I think that's really, really important for study notes, that, you know, they're effective and they're in a place where you can easily find them, because otherwise studying just, you know, becomes a lot harder, and yeah, you're just less motivated to do it. Now, last but not least, I have some advice about practice papers, and this is really about the continuous practicing. And I feel like a lot of people, when they talk about the IB, they just say, well, you just gotta do practice papers and you gotta do a lot of them. But the thing is, when people hear that, they seem to think, okay, so I gotta sit this 3-hour paper like at best every week just to, you know, practice. And everybody knows that you don't have the time to do that for every subject every week. Now, what should you do? My advice is to pick one question from an exam paper and do that, and do one question per subject every week. And it's really important that you stick to that ritual. Now, what I mean when I say one question is, pick a question that will take you at least 10 minutes. Or if you're doing multiple choice questions from biology paper 1, that's fine, but then you do the entire paper, okay? Don't kid yourself, you can do that. But if it's like a long essay question, you know, you can't do like 20 of them. Like, that just doesn't work. So, you know, pick a question which will realistically take you some time, but not too much of your time. And then when you answered it, actually look at the marking criteria and think about, is my answer good enough? And if you're not sure, just go to your teacher, give it to them, and be like, well, I don't know if this is good, can you help me? And they can look over it and they can tell you how much you would have scored on that particular question. And I think that's just super helpful, because it helps you learn to look out for traps in the questions. It helps you to know how to answer a question in order to score well with the marking criteria. And most importantly, you know, it just helps your brain to remember the information, because you have to apply it to a particular question. Now, obviously, if you're studying subjects like history, global politics, and English, where there's basically just essay questions, it's a little bit harder to do that. because every essay is supposed to take you around like 45 minutes. So here's how I solved that problem. I didn't write the entire essay, I just wrote an outline. So you can take like 5 to 10 minutes for writing that outline, and that's it. And writing the outline really helps a lot because you know exactly how would I structure this essay, which examples would I use, would I introduce a counterclaim, would I not, how much words would I allocate to this, how much would I want this to take up for my essay, all these things, you know. And the outline is what your essay would be based on. Like, you can usually tell by the outline how good your essay will be. And it's important that when you look at your outline, you also ask yourself if it's realistic that you could, you know, go through this entire outline in the time that you have for writing that essay. And you can also ask teachers to just look over your outline and give you some feedback on that. Now, my teacher was really happy to do that, and I think that just helped a lot, especially because outlining things is a skill that's often not practiced a lot. So, you know, a lot of teachers, they give you feedback on your essay, but they don't give you feedback on your planning. But the planning is the thing that sets you up for success with your essay. So if you do a lot of practice and planning, you're already one step ahead in the exam. So I would highly recommend doing that for humanities subject. So yeah, those are all my tips for the IB. I hope that this helped you guys. I tried to reflect on my experience, think about what, you know, I found helpful as a student, what I wish I had done differently, and yeah, I hope this was helpful for some of you guys. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to drop them in the comments below or send me a message through the contact section of my blog, which is linked below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye!